Hello, you lovely lot, and welcome to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. I am your host, as always, Josh Carr, and it's another wonderful guest that I've got for you today. I always supply the goods. One thing that I don't always supply is artists. We don't have many artists on the program. I don't know why, but let's rectify that because we've got a fantastic one today. I'm sure everyone at home, if you're active on Twitter, will have seen his work. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Introducing the one and only Blue Fruity. How are you?
Hi, thanks. Yeah, I'm great. I'm good. Thank you very much. What an introduction. Wow.
Oh well, I have to deliver. I have to deliver on the introductions. But like I said, your art precedes itself. And as people can see, just next to me, there will be a little graphic of your artistically imagined face, and they can see your work speaks for itself. But it's great to have you on. I said you've been on my list for a while, ever since I saw your artwork. I've wanted to chat to you about it because I love it. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There's a hot take straight out of the gate. I love your artwork.
Thank you very much.
I mean, let's get started where we always start, because I love having a good old chin wag just about Doctor Who, and that's what we're here to do. I always forget this bit. We're actually here to talk about Doctor Who and our love for the program. And firstly, where did Doctor Who begin for you? When did you become a Doctor Who fan?
I am pretty sure I watched it from like the beginning of the revival, but obviously at that time I will have been like 4-5 years old. So I don't fully remember series 1, but I'm pretty positive I remember watching series 2 at least on the TV, and then from then on. But I've been essentially watching it since it came back. My mum put it on and was just like, you're gonna watch this, and fell in love. And like there's the photo on my Twitter somewhere of my childhood bedroom, and it's wall to wall Doctor Who, and it always has been. Just since I first watched it, I've been watching it ever since. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's just always been there for me, really. It's always, as long as I can remember, Doctor Who's just been a thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. And when you say wall to wall Doctor Who, I imagine your room probably looked very similar to mine in that it was plastered with posters from Doctor Who adventures. Is that correct?
Yeah. I had a wall of like, the series 3 posters, and I had a big TARDIS wardrobe, and the sort of
you had a TARDIS wardrobe
with the TARDIS and Daleks and stuff on it.
Yeah, I did. Did you?
It was amazing.
Did you paint it yourself?
No, it was one of those. It was like an official one, and it was like a tarp thing that you pulled over a frame. It's like a big sort of tent thing.
I remember them. Yeah. My mum. I think my mum took one look at them and said, "There is not a chance I'm paying for that." And she went, "If you want a TARDIS wardrobe, me and you are painting it ourselves."
Yeah, well, fair enough.
So we set up one Saturday and painted my wardrobe like a TARDIS.
Wow, that's
and
amazing.
I need to find pictures. I'm gonna ring my mum and see if I can get pictures, and I'll put a picture on screen if I can find the picture of my very shoddy windows are the wrong size TARDIS wardrobe.
But yeah,
those were the days, weren't they? I love Doctor Who adventures. It's not something that we've spoken about much on the show. And those amazing posters and those ridiculous little toys that you used to get with them. I used to be obsessed. I always remember them little Slovene popper things as well.
Yeah. Was that the one that had the brain thing from the Evolution of the Daleks 2-parter? It reeked. It really stunk. It was.
It did. Yeah, it smelt really weird and chemically, but like sort of living, like, and it
Yeah.
worries me as to what was actually in there. I wonder what the BBC budget stretched
Yeah.
to stick in a
Oh.
kids magazine. I imagine something that's probably not legal these days, whatever those chemicals were.
No,
So that,
no, yeah.
yeah. So that's interesting. So Doctor Who has just sort of always been there, which I think is a lovely sentiment, because I think it is that way for a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
people who pre the show going off the air. It sort of just always existed in some way, whether
Yeah.
it be the show or the spin-off media. And I wanted to talk to you as well. Obviously, let's start talking about your artwork, because that's
Yeah.
really the main reason why we're here. When did you start getting into becoming an artist? Is it something from a very early age that you were drawing all the time, or is it something that you stumbled into later in life?
I think, yeah, much like sort of Doctor Who, it's always been something I've done. Like I was always sort of the kid in school that did the drawing. You know what I mean? I was the drawing kid. If you wanted something drawn, you'd go to me and I'd do it for you. And it sort of continued on just entirely for fun until sort of the end of school, when I was like, right, maybe I should start taking this seriously and see what I can actually do with it. And I ended up going to art college. And from then, that's sort of like when I would have classed myself an artist, when like I started going, right, this is actually something I want to do rather than just something I happen to do. But yeah, so I'd say, yeah. But I mean, I've been doodling since I mean, as soon as I could. But yeah, Doctor Who
Yeah.
even then. Do you know what I mean? Let's try and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
get with
That's so is
Tenant
that.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, because that's when I mean I'm not really an artist. I did art at GCSE, and that's pretty much where it
Mhm.
stopped. It sort of faded out after that. But when I ever doodle, or even now, like I was sat at my desk at work the other day just drawing Daleks, and
Yeah.
like I think it's just something that's a lot of those key designs, like the TARDIS and the Daleks, are just
Mm.
great for a little doodle, aren't they? Because it's just lines
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
boxes and like easy shapes to recreate. Um, so one thing that fascinates me about your art is your style, because I
Mhm.
I think you have such a distinct. This is going to be me gushing about your art again, but I think I think you have a really distinctive art style that you could spot a mile away. Like I could, like you could show me like hundreds and hundreds of drawings, and I could spot yours out of a lineup every single time, because you've got this really original, distinctive, um
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
cartoonish. Yeah, I mean, I just think I love. Well, there's some amazing Doctor Who fan art out there,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
there
Yeah.
always has been, in a variety of styles.
Mhm.
And I think that more, I said, I hope the term isn't deemed derivative in any way, because it's very much a compliment. But that cartoony style, that
Yeah, that's
sort of
exactly what it is. Yeah.
seems like it could be like in some kind of animation TV show or something. Like that style doesn't really seem to pop up a lot. It seems to be that you get a lot of realism and you get a lot of like sketch artwork, but
Mhm.
I think that's what stood out about your art when I saw it. I was like, I've never really seen Doctor Who
Yeah.
drawn like that before, and it
Yeah.
works
Yeah.
so well. So where did your style come from? How did you sort of naturally land at this point? Was it progressive over the years, or have you sort of always been led down that cartoon path?
I think, yeah, I mean, I sort of, for a long period, especially sort of my college years and stuff, um, the main sort of art I would make would be pastiche. I was someone who could imitate styles. That was where I sort of found my comfort. I would, Adventure Time, Steven Universe, Total Drama Island. I could replicate these styles rather than develop my own. And I think it ended up just being that when I went, right, I kind of want to do my own stuff now. I've had fun with this, but I want to do my own stuff. I pinched a few ideas and just different key traits from these different things. And then from there, like, developed it into my own sort of method. I'd say a lot of the shape language I use would be inspired by Turtle Drown Island, but less exaggerated. And certain expressions would be not reminiscent of Steven Universe or Great Falls or whatever. I was a big, a few years ago now, I was a big sort of animation fan, Cartoon Network and Disney, and I sort of subconsciously and consciously took elements from that and then went from there. And then now that I've not really touched that stuff for a while, it's sort of just become its own thing, and it sort of self-fulfills itself now, where it's like it's the changes aren't based on anything other than just me now. But yeah, I'd say it's definitely got that sort of 2000s to early 2010s vibe to it, which I like. And yeah. But yeah, cartoony is absolutely the word for it. It absolutely is cartoony, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, it really works. I mean, because like I said, that it stood out to me. And obviously, the first I saw of you was obviously your Doctor Who artwork when it started going around on Twitter, and it astounded me like how, because I think in my eyes, Doctor Who really lends itself to artwork, and it lends itself to interpretation from artists. But again, just the way that you capture the characters and the profiles and the facial expressions and the costumes of all of these characters from Doctor Who, it just aligns so perfectly with your style. What do you think it is about no worries. What do you think it is about those characters and the characters that Doctor Who and the universe births that lends itself so well to that more cartoony style?
I'm not sure. I think it's something that I sort of I tell people whenever I sort of talk about character design, is that it's never, at least if you want to do the method I do, it's not about accuracy. It's about capturing the personality and the vibe of the character. And I think Doctor Who has such strong character, like it's full of so much personality that makes, at least for me, the translation to art so easy, because you've got people like John Pertwee, who doesn't feel like a real person, but he was. And I think his sort of bonkersness and the sort of the way he looks and the way he moves and talks, it's also easy to exaggerate and turn into this sort of animated character, because he himself is such a character. Like I think if everything was a lot more sort of subtle and grounded in Doctor Who, it'd be a lot harder, at least for me, to sort of put that character into art. But Doctor Who's just got such a magic that everything's sort of imbued with this sort of extra level of character to me, personality. I think that's probably, that would be it for me. It's that it's just so full of personality, and I think because it's made by fans, that's the thing. It's made with so much heart. It's not just pumped out for the sake of it. It's made because the people really love it, and it's got such a magic to it. And I think anything that comes from it, including art, is sort of affected by that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like you say, the character designs, they're all so vibrant and just so, they all seem so alive and sort of just slightly out of the realm of realistic. Like the costume, like you look at Colin's costume, obviously it could exist in real life, but you don't see costumes like that in real life. And it goes with the companions as well. Like when, the mad stuff they put Sarah Jane in half the time, and like Joe Grant, like I think the only thing, one thing that I can compare it to, just because it's on my mind at the minute, is like Stranger Things, the costumes that they and the costumes, the hairstyles, and things like that. Like in
Mhm.
each series, each character seems to have a very distinctive look, um, that's separate from what they were wearing or what
Yeah.
they looked like the previous series, and
Mhm.
it's bold and it stands out. Like I think about series 3, like 11, with the bright 80s shirt and
Mhm.
like the short, like the longer hair and things like that. And I think Doctor Who has a lot of that as well. And
Absolutely,
again,
yeah.
yeah, I think like you said, with a cartoony style, it means you can dial sort of that vibrancy up to the
Yeah,
max as
absolutely.
well.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, no, I think you're totally right. I think, it's an understated thing, I think, of how much design and character are in tandem. I think because when people sort of discuss different outfits for the doctors and stuff, I think it's always a fun novelty. But to me, like the outfits that they wear are as synonymous with their character as their personality is, because it's so intertwined of just being, it's so full of characters. There's no part of it that's just slapped on. Like
yeah,
it's an active, it sort of enhances their personality, and their personality enhances their outfit. It's just this sort of cool symbiotic relationship between the design and character.
mhm,
And I think I try to take that to my art, really. And some
yeah,
things obviously don't translate perfectly, and that's where you sort of draw the line between accuracy and sort of characters, where you go, right, I mean, my Eighth Doctor one in particular is a design that's sort of so detached from the sort of actual design, because the sort of vibes that he gives off and the feeling behind his outfit is different to how it actually looks. Where you can sort of the sort of in your mind, the way you picture it is more what I'm going for than
yeah,
the actual truth of it. You know?
yeah, yeah. And I think that works for the Eighth Doctor as well, because
Yeah.
it's a Doctor that's so ingrained in non-visual medium.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like people are like, obviously with all of the Doctors through audio and books and things like that.
Mhm.
A lot of Doctor Who fans are very used to recreating the image of a Doctor in their mind as
A bit.
they're listening to audios and reading books. And none more than the Eighth Doctor, who is the
Yeah.
king of audio, of course. So I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, one thing that interests me as well is, in terms of your art, because um, obviously this is the way that Twitter works. For me, it just came up out of the blue. Just, I
Mhm.
think someone just retweeted it onto my timeline, and I followed you, and now since I've followed your work very closely. What made you expressly want to start doing a lot of Doctor Who stuff and posting it out there online? What was your driving force behind making that decision and sort of delving into the sometimes wonderful, sometimes horrifying world of Doctor Who Twitter?
So I'd already been posting my art on Instagram since I started college. As they sort of, when I went to college, they were like, best thing to do is to start putting your art out there, and even if it doesn't, even if no one sees it, at least you've got that there. So I was doing that already, and then I went to uni to do animation, and halfway through, we were all hit by a pandemic, and sort of to try and combat my boredom, I was sort of talking to my roommate, and we'd the year before I'd rewatched Capaldi, and I went, oh wow, Capaldi's actually really good. We watched Geordie's series at the time. I can't remember if series 11 or 12. And I was sort of like in and out of Doctor Who. I was watching it, but I wasn't as massively invested in it as I had been before.
Mhm.
And then my friend Scamper Artie, he's not posted a lot. He posts a lot of really funny memes and stuff on Twitter, but he sort of said to me, "Oh, I've just given some of the audio dramas on Spotify a go." you should have a go, see if you like them. And I was like, yeah, okay. Which one do you think? And he's like, oh, why not try Chimes of Midnight by the Eighth Doctor one, because he's quite he's one of the ones where a lot of his runs on audio, you're not missing anything else by not not watching the classic series. So I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sounds good. And I listened to it and I was like, that was amazing. I really enjoyed that, actually. I can't believe how much I enjoyed that. So I listened to some other ones. I listened to Jubilee, which is marvelous. I listened to Fearmonger, which is another great one. And I was going to listen to Fifth Doctor, and I didn't end up doing it. And I went, right, okay, I want to actually get into these now. So I started from Storm Warning, the Eighth Doctor story, and just went on from there. And we've been now listening to them for, what is it, a year and a half, maybe 2 years or something, of just constant audios, like my count is on 510 or something.
I was going to mention, because I noticed that you had your counter on your Twitter, and you'd hit over 500 Big Finish stories, which, as someone who, I was in a very similar position, like in about, like, I think it was more last year, at the beginning of last year, I sort of wanted to start taking my first steps into Big Finish. And I did the same. I started a Storm Warning and just did a few of the Eighth Doctor ones, and then I flitted around. I've still got loads to listen to, but 500 audios is an impressive. It's an impressive amount.
I know, and that's still only a third. It's the thing. It's still only about a third of there,
isn't it? There's so much of it.
Just before I go on to any more Big Finish stuff, sort of we'd hit like, it must have been about Dark Eyes we'd gotten to. We did the Lucy Miller stuff quite late, actually. This was weird, but after the Charlie arc, we went on to Dark Eyes, because we were sort of listening together, really, me and my roommate, and we went. My auntie had said, "Oh, I've just got BritBox if you want to link to it," and I went, 1 second, I'm pretty sure some Doctor Who's on BritBox. So I sort of had a look and I was like, oh yeah, it's got all of it. So I was just saying, I sort of talked to my roommate. I was like, I'm probably gonna sort of, watch 1 or 2 episodes of Classic Who. We'll see how it goes. And we started with An Unearthly Child, and we went, that was actually really good, and we just sort of went on from there. We watched the whole, it took a year. We watched the whole thing from the beginning to end of Classic Who while listening to the audios at the same time. So that was sort of the big sort of push for me toward doing Doctor Who art, is that, like, during COVID, I was consuming audios and Classic Who at such an incredible rate that it was all that was on my mind. So I was drawing that constantly. And that it just ended up, by chance, that I went, oh, I've done a Twitter like this, because I hadn't really posted on Twitter before. I sort of put some on there. I can't remember what it was now. Probably some Eighth Doctor stuff. I just went, see what it does. And everyone was really lovely. So I just kept doing it. And I just kept posting. Everyone's been really lovely. And I'm really lucky that I don't actually get many rude people at all. It's just a lot of lovely support and stuff. So I just keep doing it. And I've drawn very little other than Doctor Who for quite a while now. But I love it. I don't know.
Good. I mean, it's very funny. We've both had very similar journeys over the past few years, because again, like the way we started with Big Finish, the way we started with Classic Who, all very similar. And that's what made this podcast. So it's the same. I think lockdown, obviously it was a terrible time for a lot of people, but it's nice to see, especially in the Doctor Who community, that a lot of good came out of it, because
absolutely,
it's fueled a lot of creative fires, and it's allowed a lot of people to spend the time to go and explore Classic and Big Finish and things like that.
Absolutely,
it's really cool. But I mean, like I said, your artwork, it does really, really well on Twitter, and it's like you said, I don't think it's luck that you don't get any hate or anything like that. I think it's purely that your art is so good that that there is nothing to hate. There is nothing to hate about it. And like I said, that just the way that you capture all of these characters and the way that you can feel sort of the spirit of each of these characters in your art is amazing. One of my favorite pieces that you've done is that one of just all of the Doctors crammed in, because I love it. I love artworks that incorporate all of the Doctors, and a lot of the time they're sort of lined up and they're in very cool stances and looking very Doctor in a very cool moment, but you really capture the spirit of the other side of the Doctor and the chaos and the silliness of Doctor Who by just cramming them all into this one page with no background space, and even with just a tiny little even with like a tiny little portion of the screen each, their character, just through the facial expression and the costume and the colors, is just absolutely there. And again, just incredibly commendable to be able to do that. And like it's just a testament to your art, really. It's amazing stuff. One thing that I did want to ask before we go to a break, because it would be remiss of me to not ask, sorry. Blue Fruity, where did the name come from? Because everyone's going to be thinking it. Everyone's going to be asking at home, where did Blue Fruity come from?
I have no idea. I really don't. I generally, it was just in college. I was just like, I was coming up with my Instagram page and stuff, and I was coming up with a username because I'd never done anything like this before. I really have, I don't know, because blue's not even my favorite color. So like, and I don't particularly love fruit either. So I don't know what happened. I think my brain just spat it out and I went, yeah, that'll do, and just went with it. I think it's pretty memorable though. I think
it's definitely memorable. Blue Fruity, like it's, and again, synonymous with you now. So it definitely
that's the thing,
works.
yeah. I think it captures the energy of my art quite well. Definitely. So I think, but yeah.
Definitely. Perfect. So that's all we needed to know. All we needed to know is that the answer is there is no answer.
There is no answer.
Which is always great. So we're going to take a very short break, and then when we come back, everybody knows what time it is because it's feature time, and we've got features galore to get through, starting with the DVD collection. So we'll see you in a moment. Hello and welcome back to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. I am still your host, Josh Carr, and I'm still here with Blue Fruity. The reason for the name, as we now know, unknown. But we've got some features to attend to, as we usually do, and the first one is right here. We have a DVD collection. It's not the DVD collection, because I can't afford all of the Blu-rays and DVDs because I'm poor. But Blue Fruity is going to be adding another one to the collection. So let's have a look. I've said the words DVD and collection too many times. Let's go to the DVD collection.
By the power of Grayskull.
The Unicorn and the Wasp, or Love and Monsters?
Which one do you think I'll prefer?
No, I mean, which one do you want to watch first?
You are pulling my leg.
That was rambly, as my links usually are. But let's have a look and let's see what story you would like to submit. By your oof sound there, I imagine it was quite a difficult choice.
Well, I mean, it wasn't. I'll keep panicking and checking that it's not been submitted before. But the first thing that came to my mind was City of Death, and I think I'm going to have to go with City of Death. I know it's the one, isn't it? It's like It's the classic story. It's
It
whatever kind of
is.
stuff, but it is brilliant.
It's
Like, it's just
I've
amazing.
been waiting for this day. I've been waiting for this day for so long because I always, I mean, I love every type of pick, as people know. I love the ones that I hate, or the ones that I dislike. Hate may be a strong word because I don't hate any Doctor Who episode, but the ones that I dislike are always hilarious because everyone gets to watch me try and fumble and find something to say about some weird, obscure Doctor Who episode that I'm not really a fan of. And I like the niche picks, but every now and then I do like it when a pick that is always going to get in here at some point gets put in. And this is definitely one of those occasions. So please, why City of Death?
Well, because it's City of Death, isn't it? I mean,
That's it. That's the end of segment, everybody.
No, I mean, it's just fantastic. I've watched it twice over the past fortnight. Just not even in preparation for this, just because I love it. I mean, it's just something special. It really is. I mean, I think it lends back to the sort of character thing for me, is that, like, I adore City of Death and the plot is great, but it's not this big, bombastic, massive sort of spacefaring thing. It's not that. It's essentially a small little trio of characters within the Fourth Doctor, Romana and Duggan, just going around Paris for like 2 hours. And there's the Mona Lisa stuff, and it's all wacky and crazy and brilliant. But really, it's just such a nice vibe to it. I mean, the first part of it, part one, is entirely just Romana and the Doctor on holiday in Paris, and I adore that. I love those scenes of just chilling. I think that's something I really like in Doctor Who. That's why I like Stranded so much. Is that, like, you can have just mundanity in Doctor Who, and it feels brilliant because you can have the characters be mundane or be bonkers off the wall doing incredible things, and they're still the same characters, and you can just love every aspect of them. And I mean, and the dialogue as well. I mean, the dialogue just, I mean, it's masterful, and it's every bit of it is just. I mean, you could analyze every line. It's just the wit and the jokes and the personality to every word is just fantastic. And you pick up more each time you watch it as well. It's the thing. Like, I'm on my fourth or fifth rewatch of it now, and every time I go, oh god, I didn't even see that. Oh god, that's brilliant.
There are some wonderful moments in it. Like, I mean, just everything with Scaroff is just, I mean, he's one of the best one-off villains Doctor Who has ever had, and everything.
He really is.
Duggan.
He's got such a charm to him.
He does.
Yeah, Duggan's fantastic.
Duggan's, for me, is in like my top 5 supporting characters of all time in Doctor Who.
I can't wrap my head. I might be wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me, but I can't believe he's not shown up again, Duggan, at any point in expanded media. I can't. I'm pretty sure he hasn't. But there might be an obscure audio or novel where
I don't know.
But, like,
I feel like, I don't know why, someone who knows the comics better than me, I have a feeling there may be a Duggan appearance in a comic somewhere.
Right, that would.
I don't know where that's come from out of my brain. Maybe Davis has covered it in Broke Canon at some point. But that's the nature of Doctor Who. I'm sure Duggan is like some kind of space priest in like the 42nd century at some point, because that's usually what happens in expanded media in Doctor Who. Like, look at Kelsey Hooper from Sarah Jane. Like, just mad stuff happens. But yeah, City of Death is a marvelous pick. Absolutely brilliant, because I think it's some of Tom's best work as well. Like the scene where they get to the mansion, and
absolutely, that whole bit.
What a wonderful butler! He's so violent is one of the iconic Doctor Who lines, and it's just filled with.
It is. I mean,
brilliant moments, and it's in the DVD collection. Fantastic pick, and I'll need to count
Thank you very
up.
much.
People at home will know Cal, who does catalogs the entries. They will know if Tom has now gone into the lead. It's definitely between David and Tom in terms of the most stories. They're both getting there. So now we all know what it's time for. It's that time where we hear from you, lovely lot at home, with your wonderful questions. So let's reach our hands into the goodie bag that is bloody Twitter.
For God's sake! Bloody Twitter!
First question is from a regular listener, Oscar Groucho's. Speaking as a Doctor Who fan and fellow artist, who is the most fun for you to draw out of those to play the role? Do you find character informs the sketch or the other way around? Love your work, brother. Namaste. So which out of the Doctors is the most fun for you to play around with?
It's got to be the Eighth Doctor. It's got to be. Yeah. I think he's the one I've drawn the most. He was the first one I sort of, when I went, right, I want to start doing Doctor Who art again, he was the first one that I drew, and I've loved the design since I first drew it, and the tweaks have been so minimal. It's insane. But he's been the one. I think I've drawn the Eighth Doctor now over 50 times.
Wow.
Not including animations where I've drawn him even more. But yeah, I'd say it's got to be 8. It's just something about him. He's just so fun to draw.
Yeah. and then the second part of the question, do you find the character informs the sketch or the other way around?
Yeah, the character always informs the sketch for me. I will always go in my mind. I'll always go into a piece of art with the character in mind and probably the pose or generally sort of vibe to it. I don't really do a base sketch and then go, who will this be afterwards? It's always right. I'm going to draw the Fourth Doctor now, and I'd start there. But I think that's because of the way I draw things. It's each design is so based in its own shapes. Like some of the shape language isn't transferable between characters. And on top of that, my sketches are pretty much the finished line art, but ugly. So what I'll do is it's not like I'm drawing like a circle and a stick. I'm not drawing stick figures and then drawing my design on top. I'll be drawing the designs as you see them, and then going over that design with the clean layer. But yeah, so I mean, pretty much, I'll have to post some of my sketches, but they're essentially just the finished result, but ugly.
Yeah, no, I'd love to see them. I'd absolutely love to see that because it's interesting that you sort of go straight in with that like near final design and then just clean it up afterwards because it's like when it's like you said, like with circles and stuff like that. That's sort of, I mean, when I did my art GCSE, that's how they taught us to draw things. But obviously, I mean, it definitely works. So I mean, it's impressive that you can just sort of go straight in with the character.
I think it absolutely it depends on the style. I think because mine isn't based in realism, I can be a bit more sort of free with it. But I think any way is valid, really.
Well, the next question is from Ben at Real Enthusiast. Hey man, love your work. Your artwork is superb, and I'd commission an animated series in your style today if I could. My question is, if they ever decided to make an animated series of Doctor Who, which cartoons or anime series, etc., do you think it should take inspiration from?
First off, I want to say thank you very much. That's such a compliment. But I would genuinely say probably like Scooby-Doo. I'd say
perfect.
Yeah, I think sort of if I were going to make a Doctor Who cartoon, I think the best way to pitch that is to have it sort of be along the lines of Sarah Jane Adventures, where it's targeted towards the slightly younger demographic of Doctor Who, where it's not exactly for little babies or anything, but it's like it's for kids, just somewhat light that they can enjoy. And I think that there shouldn't be too many high stakes. It shouldn't be like this massive plot arc over the series or anything. It should just be fun little adventures. And I think the best way to do it would be having one-off little adventures with different Doctors. Because I mean, you could do a little animated episode. Just what 10, 20 minutes of the Sixth Doctor, voiced by Colin Baker. Just to introduce kids to classic Who in an easy way, and just have it be something fun and easy to watch, just something nice. I think that would be the thing. I think the sort of Scooby-Doo vibe of it, of just like a little mystery, then you solve it, would be perfect.
Yeah, completely agree. I think if Doctor Who, if the main show were ever to take a break, and Doctor Who was to go off the air for a while, which I think it's probably going to happen at some point in the future. We don't know how long in the future that's going to be. But say in the same vein that Big Finish took the Eighth Doctor and sort of ran with him, if there was an animated series in between, not to be the entire future of the show, but just to bridge the gap until the new series came back, with the last incumbent Doctor taking the reins, voicing it, and then like maybe for every mid-series or end of series, you drop in like fun multi-Doctor stories or old villains, and that can be people's bridge to go back and watch the others, rebuild its popularity a little bit, and then maybe relaunch the show. I think that would be the best way to go about it. But yeah, I've said for ages, and I think I must have tweeted this to you directly at some point, that an animated series in the style of your drawings would be amazing. It would be so cool, and that it's cool to see other people out there doing animations. Josh Snares, they've done an incredible job with Out of Time recently, and I think it shows. I think Doctor Who's got a future in animation at some point. Who knows?
I do too.
Yeah. I think it'd just be perfect. And I mean, I imagine that the scale that you could get with obviously keeping it still friendly for the kids, but the scale of like a Dalek army in animation form,
absolutely,
you could get 10 times what the budget of Doctor Who could get through animation. And like your TARDIS interior doesn't need to make physical sense. You can I think you can go batshit with it, basically.
It's so open. I mean, it's like the comics and stuff. It's so open with what you want to do with it. And I think given the right budget, some animated Doctor Who could really work. And I think it's not that we don't have animated Doctor Who, because we have the recreated episodes of classic Who and stuff, and I do like them a lot. But I think given even more budget to just be its own thing, it could really work, and just allow them to push the style a bit more and not worry too much about making it accurate. But yeah, I would love to work on character design for a Doctor Who animated like project by the BBC or whatever. I'd love that. So, but we'll see what happens. Maybe one day.
maybe one day. Fingers crossed. Next question comes from Harry at Harry5987. They've asked, what is your favorite Big Finish cover, and what Big Finish series would you at some point like to do a cover for?
For the first one, it's really tricky. There's some absolutely gorgeous Big Finish covers, especially I like a lot of the sort of newer stuff. Really, I mean, the design behind some of the new stuff is just fantastic. The most recent Eighth Doctor sort of two-parter cover thing. I was
just about to
gorgeous.
say.
I mean, that's
I believe is it Rafesky or Rafesky? I don't know how you pronounce the name, but I believe that's who did that cover. And they also posted
it's just
like
gorgeous.
A full spread of it, like where they combined the image in the middle.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely beautiful. Yeah, that's up there for me as well. In terms of one of the best Big Finish covers.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many though. I mean, I haven't even listened to the series, but the Gallifrey War Room one with the sort of white background and then all the characters sort of putting through is gorgeous. One of my favorite ones, which no one ever talks about, is the Silent Scream, which is a James Goss Fourth Doctor story, and it's got like this big mouth, and it looks like a poster. I mean, it's just stunning. But I mean, there's so many. I could flick down my Big Finish app and just reel them off. There's so many. I can't pick this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the answer is a lot of them. Most of them.
Yeah. And then the second part of the question was what Big Finish covers, what Big Finish series, sorry, would you like to do a cover for in the future if it was something you were at all interested in?
I don't know if I could do it justice as a thing. I think maybe I don't know. It's a thing. Is that like I would love to do that, but I don't know what series tonally would fit my stuff. Maybe if they did like the comic strip adaptation stuff again,
Yeah,
they did more of that. But like there's a lot of series that I adore, but I don't think my covers would suit the War Master stuff. Or like I don't know. I don't know. And I think I don't know. It's really tricky. But I'd say probably like comic adaptations or something, or if they do like Sarah Jane stuff, or maybe the Benny stuff actually, because Benny's stuff used to have drawn covers, so maybe I could do that. I wouldn't want to like I don't know. I don't want to sort of get above my station really with it.
Oh no, don't be silly. No. I mean, I'd love to see comic book cover, because I know the comic book covers, they sort of vary in style a lot more. I'd love to see a comic book cover done by you, like maybe one of the new Fugitive Doctor ones. That would be that would look incredible.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that would be great. Sorry, I'm lagging out a bit.
No. Sorry, go.
I think I'd be much more comfortable doing like a variant cover for a comic rather than a Big Finish cover or a full comic. I just I think for me a variant cover for a comic, although it's not something I've ever done, is something that I would feel at home with right away. Whereas I think it'd have to be a particular story for Big Finish. Like there's an EDA novel called Crooked World that's got it's got a drawn cover on it, because it's like I think it's meant to be like they're in a cartoony world. I've not read it yet. So if there were a Big Finish story set in a cartoony world, maybe like the Land of Fiction stuff, I could do that. I'd be up for that. But I don't think I'd want to do a lot, because I think people would get tired of it. Do you know what I mean?
I think you're right in terms of the tone. I think comics it would definitely work, or like a Doctor Who video game in that style, like one of the old video games that used to get on the Doctor Who website, like a game with that art style would be so good, like sort of like a 2D platformer. I think that would really work, and now I really want to see it. The next question is from at the Mighty Pating. They asked, what is your favorite Big Finish audio?
Oh, that's really tricky.
Out of 500, you now have to pick from.
That's the thing. It's so many. I mean, Scherzo is amazing. Scherzo is something. Just, I mean, generally, I was in my bed and I was like jumping and stuff with just how sort of creepy and scary and stuff it is. And I mean, that's brilliant story. I recently listened to the War Doctor Begins. Is it Battlegrounds that it's part of? But the story Rewind. Oh my God.
I've heard good things.
Oh my God, it's somewhat special. Like I do love the War Doctor stuff, but I'm like, it's not always exactly what I'm into generally with Doctor Who, because like I said, I much prefer the sort of mundane stuff, and that's quite high stakes bombastic stuff. But Rewind is just something amazing. So that's my recommendation is to listen to Rewind to anyone listening. It's amazing. But there's so many. I could list off so many. The Red Lady is another great audio drama. You know, the Eighth Doctor one, the Peterloo Massacre, the Fifth Doctor. I mean, so many. But yeah, I can't put this
I'm
one
excited
again.
because I've heard none of them. None of those
Really?
I've heard. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still quite new to it all, and I'm actually, here's an exclusive for everyone. I'm possibly planning a series on the channel where I go through the whole main range one by one and review them all. I want to try and do it because there's so much. Like I've not even listened to Spare Parts yet. I've been saving Spare Parts for a long time. I've listened to Chimes. I was like, every time someone mentions Big Finish, it's got to be Chimes or Spare Parts. I've at least listened to one of them. And I've listened to Zagreus for some reason. That was an experience and a half. But there's so many other like lower stakes stories that I've not listened to. I listened to Zagreus once while I was working, and that was a day and a half, I'll tell you.
It's a story. I mean, wow. Oh my god.
I think it took me about 3 days to listen to it all the way through because I kept rewinding to try and figure out what was going on and what I'd missed. Turns out I've missed nothing.
I've just not returned to it. Yeah, I've like it's such a. I mean, oh man, like because it's quite a few audios I've returned to and stuff, but like I don't even now. I don't think I can tackle it. I mean,
it's a mad one.
Yeah, Dalek Universe though as well. All those stories are really good. Oh,
I need to listen to the rest.
Expiry dating.
I've only listened to the start. Yeah, I need to. God, I really need to up my Big Finish game. Yeah, everyone on Twitter, shout at me. And I'll do if people want to see me review the main range, maybe I'll get guests on for every episode to talk about each one, or for different episodes. I'll do that. I'll start at the Sirens of Time and we'll go all the way through. Why not? I might do it. And the last question, which is definitely an opportunity for an early plug before the end of the show. When will you start doing prints? I need your stuff on my wall, asks, and this is possibly the most difficult name and Twitter name that anyone's ever given me. Crestfalls Cosplay Comic Book Covers and this is their Twitter at C_C_C_B_C. Thank you for that, firstly, because I stumble over those all of the time, and you've given me a really simple one there. But yeah, I mean, they've asked when will you start doing prints?
Yeah, so I've got a Redbubble thing set up.
Yes,
and you know the people that have been buying for that it's absolutely marvelous and it feels amazing. Like that people actually want my stuff on their walls or on their computers, whatever. I don't actually get much money at all from Redbubble though, so I will be sort of at some point, God knows when, setting up my own sort of stuff where I print it off myself, and I'll go to conventions and stuff, and I'll be selling them there, and you know give the money directly to the artists and stuff. But that won't be just yet. It will be for a while. So if you want it now, and I don't blame you at all, and please go ahead, it's amazing. I have a Redbubble. It's linked in my bio, I think. Or if you go under most pieces of art, especially the lineups, it'll say if you want it as a sticker, get it on my Redbubble. So yeah, you can get it all there. And thank you very much.
Lovely. No. I mean, I definitely want some. My walls. I've been meaning. I've got so many prints to put up. I've got some from I've got some Scott Gray ones. Who obviously does the comics.
Yeah.
I've got one from the amazing. It's one of my favorite pieces from Sam Gingle with the Dalek playing chess with the skeleton. I've got that to go up somewhere. But I haven't put any up in my office yet, and one of yours is going to get pride of place somewhere on these walls, because I definitely want to get one, possibly that one of all of the Doctors. I think because I love it so much.
That's the only piece of my art that I've got on my wall, and it wasn't even intentional. Is that my my dad printed off one on this massive. I mean, it's absolutely huge. Like poster thing, and it's on my wall, and it's super cool, but it's so big.
Yeah.
It'll probably be what, like, if I do a con, I'll probably put it up and be like, look, this is my drawings.
Yeah, that'd be
But
great.
that's the only piece of my art that I've actually got on any of my walls. I should probably get some, really.
Yeah, I would love to have some of yours on my wall, and some other art from other Doctor Who fan artists, because there's some
Absolutely,
amazing one
same,
out there. And there is a little Sophie Isles print somewhere behind here.
Yeah.
I think it lands just behind my shoulder. But yeah, I want to fill this place with fan art. So if anyone has any recommendations for fan artists who are selling stuff that I can support, chuck them in the comments, because I'd love to buy more. And that was bloody Twitter. So not too threatening, not a massive grilling for you there. Yeah, it was a nice one. Usually, I mean, we've had a lot of questions in the past about which doctors would win in a fight. That always ends in tears. It either usually ends in tears or Pertwee, because
I was actually thinking Pertwee.
Everyone says Pertwee. So that we've got our final feature before the end of the show, and it. Don't tell the others; it might be my favourite. But we've got a nice little stroll down this velvety carpet, these adorned walls with framed pictures of legends of Doctor Who from throughout time. And I'm sure there's probably a few cobwebs down there, because I'm not cleaning it. So it is the one and only Corridor of Fame.
Have you ever been limited by who you were before?
One day, I shall come back. Yes, I shall come back.
Our lives are different to anybody else's. That's the exciting thing.
Sarah Jane?
Do I have the right?
For some people, small, beautiful events is what life is all about.
Nursery compared to us. 10 million years of absolute power. That's what it takes to make me really
Every great decision creates ripples. Like a huge boulder dropped in a lake.
But it was a childish dream that made you a doctor. You dreamt you could no more.
I'm not just the time. I'm the last of the time.
Just disappears, doesn't it? Everything you are, gone in a moment, like breath on a mirror.
I do what I do because it's right. Because it's decent. And above all, it's kind.
Love abides in the face of everything.
So the Corridor of Fame is essentially a Hall of Fame, but with people from Doctor Who. It's basically people who are unsung heroes, or maybe not so unsung heroes, from over the years, the various mediums of Doctor Who that are submitted by my wonderful guests. And today is no different. Blue Fruity, who would you like to submit to the Corridor of Fame?
Well, much like my City of Death sort of pick, this one it's not really a surprise. It's not one that is niche. I'm going to go with John Dorney, who is one of the I mean, he's like, he's one of those names on Twitter that's passed around in the Big Finish community of just like, he knows what he's doing. He just really does. His stuff's just fantastic, and he's been a driving force for me when I've been going through these 500 audios of just like, oh, it's a John Dorney story. Oh my god, it's amazing. And I really don't think he ever misses. Is the thing. I mean, there's so many amazing writers across Doctor Who and Big Finish, but John Dorney was the first one for me, at least, that I was like, wow, every time. Yeah, he's just great.
Yeah, I mean, from what I haven't heard a hell of a lot, because I need to explore more Big Finish. What I have heard is incredible, and I think it wouldn't be out there to say maybe one of the most universally loved Doctor Who writers. I don't ever see really anyone say many bad words about John Dorney. I think his work is heralded as some of the best in Big Finish.
And for good reason is the thing,
Yeah. Am I right in saying he did? I'm pretty sure he did a lot of the Dalek Universe stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I think that was probably my first exposure to him, which is a bit shameful. And obviously, I want to listen to a lot more. But it just screamed, this is someone who should really be writing for the show.
Yeah, he did that big two-parter in the first one with I don't want to say anything
with that character. No. We won't do spoilers. Listen to it because it is one of the most fun.
I remember Twitter
and
just exploding. Like when it was released, everyone just being like, "What, that two-parter? Oh my god!"
It's why I bought it. I don't like I said. I haven't listened to a lot of Big Finish. The Big Finish that I've listened to has been a lot of the stuff that's already on Spotify. I don't go out and buy a lot of Big Finish. I bought the Ninth Doctor ones, the first Ninth Doctor set, because it was my Doctor coming back for the first time. And the other one that I bought was Dalek Universe. Actually, I think Jess my girlfriend might have bought it for me. But the other one that I bought was Dalek Universe because I just couldn't. I saw the hype and I was like, I cannot have this spoiled for me before I listen to it because everyone is going wild saying it's one of the most hilarious and fun and mental cliffhangers in all of Doctor Who. And it really is. It's Big Finish going full wild.
I love Dalek Universe. I think all 9 episodes of it are just fantastic. And I think, Big Finish 10th Doctor is my favorite 10th Doctor. I think he's just, his characterization is brilliant and the stories are brilliant, and especially John Dorney's stuff is just brilliant. But I mean, across I'm just looking down his TARDIS wiki, but I mean, some of the things he's just written are just amazing. He wrote, The Red Lady from Doom Collision, which is a fantastic story. The Long Way Around from Stranded, which makes me bawl my eyes out. So many just amazing stories. Monsters in Metropolis in the Ninth Doctor stuff. I mean, and in the Time War, the Davros palindrome thing. It's just, oh man, just every story just hits for me. Just brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to explore more. If there's one on that list that you would say is John Dorney's hidden gem.
Oh yeah, I've got
that
it.
Not many people talk about. What would you say it is?
It's Divorced, Beheaded, Regenerated. I'm positive that's his thing, because it is Divorced, Beheaded, Regenerated. It's a Missy story with the meddling monk, and it is so funny. Like it's for me, I adore Big Finish, but it's quite hard to get me to laugh out loud when I listen to something. But Divorced, Beheaded, Regenerated just did that for me. It's so funny, and I'm begging John Dorney to write more comedy because it's just so good. Because usually, he's brilliant at character, he's brilliant at spectacle, he's brilliant at all this stuff, and he peppers in the comedy. But Divorced, Beheaded, Regenerated it's a comedy story. The whole thing's just having fun, and it works so well. I love it. But I never hear anyone talk about it, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out. Definitely.
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to check out a lot more John Dorney because I think from his pedigree and the amount of people who talk about him and the amount of people who say he should be working from the show, I would be very surprised if Russell was ever considering dipping into Big Finish and nicking a writer or two to write an episode for the show. I think John Dorney is surely going to be near the top of that list because
absolutely,
I'm pretty sure he must be as well up near the top with like James Goss and Matt Fitton for the most stories written. Like he's probably written more Doctor Who than many other people. I imagine old Uncle Terry is probably the only one who trumps him, but a lot of his were rewriting Target novels and things like that. Great pick. And another we've had a massive Big Finish love in this series so far because so far we've had Scott Hancock, James Goss, Mark Wright, and now John Dorney, all in the Corridor of Fame just in this series. So people are loving Big Finish at the minute, evidently.
Oh yeah.
And I think there are a lot of unsung heroes sitting around there that deserve to be up here with the big boys. So it's great. It's a great pick, wonderful pick, and John Dorney is in. Now we've sadly and very quickly come to the end of the show. It's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. But before we go, I do have one final question.
Okay. Ooh.
And it's the big one that I ask everybody. In a sentence, roughly, what does Doctor Who mean to you?
Oh God.
Everybody's reaction. Everyone's reaction. Please, if you feel the need to, ignore the sentence. It's just it's the way I wrote it the first time I did the pod, and no, not many people have adhered to it in the 40 odd episodes since. So just go wild.
Oh God. It was really tricky. I would say that Doctor Who has sort of taught me that to make your world and your media and your story matter to people is to fill it with heart. I'd say that's probably where I'm at with that'd probably be my sentence. Just it's just because it's just so full of heart more than anything else. I think probably that. But yeah,
that's a lovely way of putting it. I think a lot of people can take note of that, and I think that is why so many people love Doctor Who is
absolutely.
It's got heart and it's got so much love at the center of it. Even though sometimes it can be hard to see, especially in our little Doctor Who Twitter echo chamber of hate and nonsense. But when you boil it down to the basics, it is a show about heart, like you said,
absolutely,
or hearts.
Hearts, yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, lovely phrase for it, and a lovely episode. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you very much.
Before we go, please take the stage and plug whatever you want to plug. This is your time to sell.
Thank you very much. I mean, as I said earlier, I'm a Doctor Who artist on Twitter and Instagram. If you like my stuff, I'm Blue Fruity on everything. So just search Blue Fruity, no E, BLU Fruity. I'm anywhere, and I'm constantly drawing Doctor Who. And if you follow my Twitter, you can hear me ramble just nonsense about Doctor Who or post Doctor Who memes and stuff. It's a very casual thing. I'm not sort of an argumentative or sort of drama person at all. So if you just want some positivity about Doctor Who and some fun art, give me a follow.
I think that is the best advert you could have given. So, I mean, if there's one thing we're all looking for now, it's drama-free, especially on Twitter. But yes, and obviously with the podcast, you've been listening to Who Knew a Doctor Who podcast. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and on YouTube, where you can get video versions. And you can see my lovely mug for the whole time. And we've also got Twitter at Who Knew Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter as well at Josh Ryan Carr. My Twitter is very much the same as BLUFRUITY'S. I try and stay as drama-free as possible. I usually just ramble about nonsense. The podcast, you can support us if you feel the need to. I love you forever, because it's been a bit of a tough one so far with having to buy a new laptop. So if you're able to support on Patreon, you can go on the link down below. You can support for as low as £1 a month, because I know it's trying times, and you'll get loads of fun stuff in return. You'll get early access to podcasts. You can get discount on merch. You can get a fun little pin badge. You can suggest video ideas, things like that. And I'm trying to grow a lovely little community of Who Knew fans on there. And yeah, you can get merch as well if you want a t-shirt with the logo on. Not many people buy them, but they're there if you want them. So if you fancy it, go for it. But this has been Who Knew. I said thank you, Blue Fruity, once again for joining me.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for listening, and I will see you next time. Massive thank you to all of our patrons, and especially Cal King. If you want to become a patron, you can join for as low as £1 a month and get loads of benefits and support the pod. Check out the link in the description. Thanks for listening to Who Knew, a Doctor Who podcast. You can check us out wherever you get your podcasts and now on YouTube. Please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you can, as it really helps us out. And a massive thanks to the Sononauts for lending their cover of the Doctor Who theme to be the theme for the podcast.